Hello and welcome to the Team Bus. This is the side piece podcast to our main Beyond the Slipstream feed. This week we're going to be talking a lot of cycling stuff that we didn't get to on our main podcast, and we're going to jump right into it with the two midweek races that took place this week. You had for both the men and the women Le Semaine or Le Semaine de Dames for the women. And then for the men, we had the Trofeo La Gueglia in Italy, and we had sort of the women's version of Kuurne Brussel Kuurne, which is the Omloop van het Hageland. Let's start with Le Semaine. I thought it was a pretty unsurprising win from Mathieu van der Poel. Kind of a shame that he was not doing Strade yesterday because we would have gotten to see him going up against Pog for the first time. The course change that was enacted at Strade Bianche this year, I think, is the reason why we didn't see him there. They basically made it a whole lot longer, and the length that they added also included a lot of climbing, and it's sort of like Van der Poel can climb, but to a limit
bursts.
Yeah, and I think that sort of like pushed him outside of the limit that he would be comfortable with, and so he stayed away. You can't really blame him.
He wasn't even supposed to be there. I did watch this race. He wasn't supposed to be there. He was like surprise start and end up taking it. And I mean, he definitely just.
Oh, you mean at Les Semaine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he pretty much outclassed everybody. So,
Yeah. He was away by himself at the end. He didn't even have to sprint it out or anything. So, anyways, he's what's the term they always use? He's got his dance card. He's punched his ticket for this year. I can't remember. And a whole lot of unsurprising in the women's side with a kind of easy, handy sprint win from Lorena Vibis. Not a lot going on, but nice to watch midweek racing. Those are usually pretty good sprinty races. Much better racing, I would say, in the other two. So in the Trofeo La Gueglia, it's kind of like opening weekend for Italy. Basically, it's like the first like one day Italian classic of the year, and it was a great race actually. Super exciting. You had a whole lot of action throughout like the last 20K of the race. It was like this tight little circuit, bunch of like sort of middling level climbs. And Ayuso was bossing it and trying to drop Christian Scaroni from Astana, and just was unable to drop him. And then the other two guys in the mix were our boy Nilson, my buddy Nilson Palace, my best friend, and Nilson, and who was the fourth guy? It was a Ineos guy, I thought. I can't remember.
I can't remember who the fourth guy was.
But Scaroni, I mean, that guy's crushing it right now. He's the real deal. He's had 6 podiums in 2025 already. He's got 2 wins, 3 seconds, and he got the GC win in the Tour des Alpes Maritimes.
That's a team that needs points too.
Yeah, they're slaying it with the points thing. Like, it's really interesting watching them operate.
This is why the UCI, weights these races a little bit differently, and it's good that these smaller teams can, and especially teams like Astana that really need points to avoid relegation, are able to collect this stuff up early where they're not going to have a lot of chances come later.
Yeah, they're like way ahead of the pack. Of the other teams at the bottom and in the relegation zone, at least for this year, they're slaying. But yeah, it was cool, man. It came down to like a 4-up sprint at the end. Ayuso kind of won the sprint pretty easily, it seemed like. but a lot of excitement in that race, which was very nice.
I saw an
Enjoyed it.
interview with Powless where he said that he just kind of bungled the end, that he should have positioned himself a little bit better.
Yeah, he did seem a little hesitant going into that sprint. And I mean, they were talking about him being at least, if not the best, one of the top two sprinters of that little group of four. So to see him come away off the podium was a bit disappointing. But honestly, he was dangling off the back. I mean, he kept just like slipping away and then like getting back on the downhill and slipping away and getting back on the downhill. So I didn't have him in with much chance to begin with. I was surprised to see him make it to the sprint at the end anyways, but yeah, it would have been nice to see him get a podium. I hope this year like he gets a big win. Like I feel like Nilsson is like due for like a stage win in one of the Grand Tours or something.
He needs to have a year like he did, a little while ago. What was it, 2 years ago when he won the King of the Mountain? Or he didn't win the King of the Mountain, but he like had the King of the Mountain jersey in the Tour de France for like most of the race before like the big mountains.
Yeah. I think that was 2 years ago. So, yes, but I want to see him get a win though, specifically because I don't even think he ever had a stage win in that whole race. He just had the mountains jersey the whole time. Like I want to see him win a classic or, a stage of a Grand Tour or even a stage of like one of the good 1 week races. Like it would be really, really nice to see that for him because we love us some Nilsson. All right, so the other race then was the Omloop van het Hageland women's race. And this was the first look at Anna van der Breggen that we got to see, really. She was part of a group of like eight or nine women that were off the front of that race and working pretty well together. And her teammate from SD Works, Famke Heritza, took the sprint win. So Van der Breggen kind of was bossing it at the front and keeping the speed high, and set up Heritza very well, which, now with the benefit of hindsight, having seen what happened yesterday in the women's Strade, sort of makes sense. She's on pretty damn good form. Puck Peters was in the mix there as well. I think this is going to be a crazy year for her.
She was pretty much there most of the day yesterday too in Strade. So
yeah,
it wasn't until the end that she kind of fell off with that larger portion of that group that Demi and AVB were in.
Yeah. So looking for good things from her. Kind of disappointed to see Charlotta cool like in 8th place or something like that on that one, because she is basically I think the second best sprinter in the women's peloton behind Vibis. But she's up and down. So I did want to mention though, did you happen to notice at the end of the race the helicopter like circling this like crazy sculpture that was out there? So I looked it up. It's called the Vlooiberg Tower. It's like a seeming to defy gravity sculpture. It's like an enormous staircase that just like walks up into the air at not like a tall angle, but like a flattish angle, which makes it seem like it would be able to tip over that much easier, because it's just like affixed to the ground with like a little square at the bottom, like where the bottom quote unquote step would be, and then it just like steps up. And man, that thing looked really, really cool. So I wanted to mention that as well. But yeah, some good midweek racing, and yeah, this week, so excited. We got 2 races to watch every single day this week.
That should be, bro. That thing is crazy.
Yeah, the Vlooiberg Tower.
Yeah,
it said it was there to replace like the old tower that burnt down or fell down or something like that. I could not find a picture of what the old tower looked like. So, but yeah, that's part of why we love cycling. It's like all the cool things around the world that we get to look at. like the city of Siena in Italy yesterday. My God, the helicopter shots of Siena where you see like the whole city like all packed in, and you can see that the streets are just like there's no grid pattern and everything. It's like totally random. It's so beautiful.
And like some of those towers are just unbelievable. There's one that's like black and white marble or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, man. It's just like it reminded me of like, you know, something Shakespearean, a Romeo and Juliet, the what is it, the Montagues and the Capulets, and Othello
Merchant of Venice
in Venice. Yes, Merchant of Venice. Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, that'd be a fun one to check out sometime. Love to be over there. Go to Tuscany for Strada Bianchi.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Super fun. All right. You wanna jump into some news items that
I was tooling around, looking at news through the week, and I came across a couple of quotes that I found pretty interesting. First one is this is UAE's Mauro Giannetti speaking on whether.
You think he's the guy they interviewed like right after the race yesterday?
Yes,
like kind of,
it is. That's exactly who it is. It's exactly who it is because this was right. He said this right after Strada Bianchi yesterday, and he said that this race can be too dangerous when he was speaking about Tadej, whether or not Tadej will race Paris-Roubaix. As mentioned, obviously, Pogacar took a heavy tumble mid-race yesterday, and what he had to say was, I told him there is time to compete in the Hell of the North. It's better to wait and not to do it this year. So, does not look like the little video of him and Tim Wellens on the Arenberg is going to come true this year. Although, I would have loved it.
And they could be being cagey, but who knows? After the crash yesterday, I mean, he was back on his bike. That doesn't not seem to be any worse for wear from that crash. But
I'm sure he didn't feel good today.
No, not at all. I'm sure his shower yesterday was unpleasant to say the least. But yeah, I don't know. They could be being cagey or something like that. I mean, it would seem, I think all signs were pointing there, and that would be a pretty drastic change if like they're already have plans in place. But who knows? I mean, sometimes riders can get a little spooked with crashes like that, and Paris-Roubaix is not going to be won by somebody who's spooked. That's for damn sure.
Nope, not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
Next, Jonas, before in front of doing his pre-race interview for Paris-Nice, which started today, had some interesting things to say. So here's the quote. I have a good relationship with Matteo. He's speaking about, obviously, teammate Matteo Jorgensen, and will be happy if he wins the race. Oh, and Matteo, obviously, is the reigning champion at Paris-Nice.
The reigning champion and an American superstar.
Absolutely, American superstar.
Even though he's probably hated now because like we're now the bad guys.
Of course. And so he says, and we'll be happy if he wins the race. I'm not that selfish. I don't just say that I want to win and don't care about others. I will be just as happy if Matteo wins, and I'm willing to sacrifice myself if he's in a winning position or proves to be the strongest. And it works the other way around too. Of course, I need to be better than last year if I want to win the Tour de France. In 23, I rode Paris-Nice aiming to win, but I finished third. That was disappointing, but you can't always win. Now we're back to see if we can win as a team. I mean, do you not just love this guy? Like,
yeah, I mean, like, there's no question, like, that he is telling the God's honest truth. Like, I feel like Jonas Vingegaard is the kind of guy that would never lie. He just seems, he's got a very pure quality to him. Yeah, I have no doubt. So I would certainly rather see Matteo win this than Jonas. As much as I love Jonas, I love Matteo, and I like seeing our American boys get big wins. So, yeah, I like seeing that.
If you remember, the race that he mentions, the 23, was, I think, when Primoz took it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Another one. Ooh, you're gonna.
Have
I
you?
know you're gonna love this one. All
Did
right.
you did you watch the first? Did you watch the first stage of Paris-Nice?
Yes, I did.
All right, no spoilers.
Of course not. That's why I haven't mentioned it.
Cool.
So I love this quote. I'm just going to read the quote, then I'll say who it's from. I'm going to win the race. Period. This is Richard Carapaz on his want to reclaim the Giro d'Italia title. My passion for the Giro has never left me. At home, I have the trophy room, the pink jersey, and the trophy that takes center stage. Every day when I see them, I'm even more motivated to win the race. I want another pink jersey.
Sweet.
Let's go.
Yes, let's go. Yeah, you think he's better? You think he can beat Ayuso?
I mean, look, without Poggi in the mix, I think it's anybody's race, and I think he has just as much a chance as anybody. I think if he's going to do it, he needs to do it now. If it really means that much to him, and if that's what they're aiming at, and it makes sense if EF is aiming for that, because it's the race that, if you want to get a shining star in the season, that's the race to target for any of these teams that are not, Visma or UAE or Sudak Quickstep or Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and they're going to have Primos to go against, so it's not like it's going to be an easy race to win.
It does just bode so well, though. I mean, last year, it was just snooze fest across the board with the stupid Grand Tours, and so now it's looking like definitely going to be stiff competition in Giro. Got Jonas and Tadej, knock on wood, heading to the Tour. Both of them heading to the Vuelta. So fingers crossed for good Grand Tour racing this year, because last year sucked. Yeah. All right. You skipped one of these things, which I would definitely.
Well, I figured I'd come back to it because it's not a quote. So Eurosport has just switched over in Europe, or in England, over to now be TNT Sports, I guess is what it's called.
Yeah.
And they switched their pay service from the Eurosport pay service to this TNT pay service. And the monthly increase, all right, was 340%. All right,
yeah, it's absurd.
They went from $6.99, $6 or £6.99, whatever it is, to $30.99 a month. It's crazy. Only 2.5% of the subscribers came over. So
unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's just come on. And what's funny is I heard about how some of the countries have these deals sort of grandfathered in, because the sports are so essential to their nationality and stuff, that it's in France, the Tour de France 100% will always be available on regular TV. You will be able to watch the Tour de France for free live in France, probably forever. It's part of their culture, part of their national identity or whatever. And it's the same in other countries, other European countries and stuff. But it's just infuriating. I mean, to me, it goes all the way back to just streaming in general, and how just annoying streaming is for all that's good about it. I mean, being able to watch things on demand, we've talked on this podcast about, how great the Olympics was, the fact that the Olympics were streamed and you could go on and cherry pick whatever you wanted to watch and see it whenever you want. I mean, all of those things are great. Of course, yes, you need to pay, for that kind of a service, but to jump from £7 a month up to £31, I mean, it's absurd that prices it out of a lot of people. That's a giant jump. Why would you do that? You're going to just destroy the sport.
I'm sure that you get more with the package. I'm sure there's more than just cycling that comes with that TNT Sports package. But how do you justify $31 a month? All right, it's ridiculous. That, you know what I mean? For one service, like, it just doesn't. It just, I don't know, man. Like, these companies, it's, I don't.
It's just corporate greed unleashed,
Yeah,
and time again, people. I mean, we vote for this shit. Like, people vote for it. It's infuriating, Like, I mean, basically, the United States, we're just giving it away to billionaires, like, just over and over and over again. We keep voting in these people that are just yes men for the billionaires. They
yep.
control everything. It's billionaires who own these giant media companies, and we give them whatever we want, And now we
Create
basically,
the narrative, and then they shovel the shit right in our faces.
right. It's unreal. I mean, now we've got one actually running the country. We got a shadow president that's a billionaire that's like literally like running roughshod over the entire United States government, and we voted it in. It's
Yep.
just like unreal. Um, and it's infuriating, and this is why I have exactly zero ethical problem with watching pirated bike races.
Yeah, no, I'm with
I
you.
really don't care. Like, if it's like, if you're passionate about this sport and they're going to come in and make it so financially difficult for you to be able to watch it, like, no, I'm sorry. Like, your sporting fandom should not be like a privileged activity in my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, you're paying for your streaming services and stuff like that. Like, just come on. Like,
Well, and look at what happened for us. Like, we had the opposite thing happen where we were paying for GCN Plus, and GCN Plus closes shop, and all of that content goes over to a streaming service that we were already using. And so we end up picking up more content for less money than what we had, the previous year. And now, the poor people in England go from, something that's completely reasonable, in my opinion, to something that's completely unreasonable. And, shame on them. Shame on them for putting things like that behind a paywall. Like,
yeah,
it's just, it's
it's
lame.
impure, and such a huge paywall. Yeah, like the paywall, I get, but like, make it reasonable. Like, going from £7 to 31, it's insane, a
Yeah.
340% increase. And honestly, when GCN Plus folded, you are correct in saying that, like, that's an expense that went away for us, and we still had access because a lot of those races migrated to other spots. But there was a lot of additional content on GCN
Yeah,
Plus that
that's
I
true.
really enjoyed that we were getting. Like, I did not mind paying for that. That was a
Yeah.
reasonable expenditure. It was $6 a month or something like that.
Yep.
And you got all this content, and I mean, it hit home for me yesterday when I turned on Strada Bianchi, and to my surprise, I see Orla and Adam Blythe in his pink sweater, and our boy Nathan, which oh my god, we didn't even mention that, but like, oh, it warms the cockles of my heart seeing Nathan in there getting to commentate and stuff. I mean, it's got to be so difficult for him to have to watch from the sidelines, when he's would have been like in the prime of his career. I feel for him, but it's really wonderful to see that he's still, involved in the public eye. And of course,
I
Danny
know.
Rowe is fantastic as well. And um, you know, what I wouldn't give to spend a day like a day like yesterday, like in the studios at whatever they call that place now, GCN or whatever, you know what I mean? Because it's like
TNT
Danny's like
Sports.
Danny's like running off to commentate on the actual race, and Adam Blythe's running off, and somebody's coming back, and they're coming like, and of course it's all like virtual stuff. So that's it's probably just like a couple of studios with green screens hanging in them. But man, I'd
Now,
love to spend a day or a week there. Like, if I go to the UK, like, I'm visiting, I'm
like,
going to take the tour.
the and I'm sure it is all green screened, but damn it, if it doesn't look great.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
they do a great job of it.
it looks awesome, and I love the breakaway. I watched the entire breakaway before I started watching it going into the race, and kind of jumping ahead to get to some of the more exciting spots. But you know we have that to look forward with the Giro, because we'll get the Giro on Max, which we should have that every
Sweet,
day, which is great. So,
fantastic.
if
I
only we
mean,
could get the breakaway all through the Tour de France and the Vuelta, it would be even better.
Well, with the Tour de France, we get the American, the Peacock package, which they
Yeah.
also have their little like virtual studio, and who knows who's going to be in it. I mean, last year we had Bookwalter and TJ alongside Burmeister. Um, so I wish that Chris Horner would come back. I love that guy. I watch every video that dude puts out. I don't know, maybe he was a little too bizarre for NBC, because he's a bizarre guy.
The Chesterfield. Kind of do love that guy.
Sitting on the Chesterfield with his buddy. Who was the person who were you talking about that he says
pronunciations?
Oh, it was Johnny Milan.
Yeah, Johnny Milan. No. Yeah, Johnny Milan.
God, yeah, he's good. But yeah, I love the package from TNT Sports or whatever. I'm just excited to see Orla's outfit every week.
I know, right?
I'm team Orla, and these haters. I don't know if you know about the whole thing, like how she's got all these haters, and it's like she doesn't know anything about cycling and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, neither does Burmeister. Like these.
I don't know, man. I'm sure a lot of her shit is written, but she, look, she chops it up as well as any of them do. Look.
Well, and she knows her place in that thing. She is the host of the show, and she has herself surrounded by 3 experts for a good reason. She kicks to the experts and asks them why, and she keeps the show moving along.
And you think she doesn't watch these races that she's,
of course,
that's. I mean, it seems so. It's like, first off, just by virtue of her watching the fucking race, like, she can make a comment on it, like, period. Like,
of course,
that doesn't, you know what I mean? You can't take it away. She's paid to be a host. She's paid to be a pretty face on the broadcast. But the fact that she can hang with all of those guys is, says something.
100%. I mean, she's got 10 times more right to be commenting on this stuff than you and I do. She knows way more about it than the two of us, I'm quite sure. The other thing is, like, she couple of times a year sits in with the cycling podcast Feminine, which is like the women's version of the cycling podcast I listen to all the time. She's fantastic on that show. Like, she is like, she knows the women's peloton like big time, even though generally speaking she probably spends more of her on screen time talking men's cycling, but she's just as deep on the women, if not deeper.
That was one thing I was a little disappointed with yesterday, that I felt like they gave the men in the beginning, in the breakaway, they gave the men's race like a lot more run than the women's. And I think I think the storyline on the women's side were more interesting than on the men's side.
100%. I mean, I was really quite surprised when I turned on the women's race, and literally right out the jump, they start talking about Tadej Pogačar in the men's race. I'm like, excuse me, are we gonna? Isn't this the women's race? And as I think I mentioned to you off the mics, I think what was going on was that they were just doing a single, like, seamless live show. So that's why they talked about both in the very beginning, because as soon as the women's thing was over, they just kicked it over to Rob Hatch and, for the call of the rest of it. Now, I went and watched the men's version, like the replay, and there was a whole intro, breakaway for the men's side as well. So I mean, they could have just flip-flopped it. They could have just like started by talking about the women and then talked about the men. I don't know. That was a little annoying to me. I agree with you on that one.
I just wish they had been a little more in depth with what the storylines were. I mean, they were like, I don't know. Like I said, I felt like there was more interesting stuff to be said on the women's side versus the men's, and the men got way more run. But, what are you going to do?
Hey, at least we got like a really great broadcast for the women. I mean, very well done, and got a great race. So,
it was what, Jez Cox and Danny Rowe, and right? Was it Jez?
Yeah, I think so.
So, great team. They're good together. I could listen to them just as much as anybody else. Ooh, you know what? You're in for a treat. You get Bob and Christian back.
Oh, for Paris-Nice. Cool. Yeah. Danny Rowe's great, man. She I love listening to her. When she was like on what did she say? She was on Pins and Needles or something like, or no, she said, she was like, oh my God, I got goosebumps as like Anna van der Breggen and Demi Vollering are rolling underneath that little gate and headed up the thing. I mean, that was so sweet. Like, I was just like,
a guy standing like in a red shirt at that, like at the corner, like of the where the gate in the road meet, and I was thinking like, damn, what a cool spot to be, chilling, because like,
we're doing it one year, man. We got to get over there.
That you're getting on camera if you're standing in that spot, because like that spot is very cool and very iconic when they enter the town.
It'd be cool to like be down there for like the women's race and then work our way up the hill and like watch the finish line for the men's race or something like that. That'd be what a fun day it would be to be hanging out there for that day. Like, oh my God. But also I like remember that one spot like I think it's like right at the top of the top of the trophy climb in the like on the gravel. There was like you could see from the helicopter shot, they had like a whole like impromptu like bar there with a bunch of tables, and like every time you saw them go by, like the tables were all empty. They were like just like high top tables with no stools or anything on a grassy area. And of course, every time we saw it, they were empty because when the race is coming by, everybody would run over and watch the race going by. But I'm just like looking at that whole scene right there. I'm like, that would be fun as hell to be hanging out there drinking Peronis. And in the beautiful Tuscan sun, and here come the bike riders by on the gravel. Like, I mean, that'd be amazing as well. Yeah, so
that would be awesome.
Well, we're kind of past our time limit, so we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us here on the Team Bus, and look for our next episode dropping this coming weekend. We're gonna be talking Paris-Nice and Tirreno Adriatico, and the weekend after that, MSR.
Yes, holy moly.
Good stuff on the way. Nice potting with you today, bro. And we will see you all next time.
Ale.
The Team Bus is part of the Beyond the Slipstream family and is produced by Harperama. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, and tell your friends about us. Thanks for listening. Talk to you next time. Ale!